Hello, listeners. Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Handsome Aaron Airport. How you doing over there?
Good. I'm ready to face the nation and see how weird it is this week.
They're all tuning in to hear our take on the past week in weird news, and we will give it to them. But before we can get into that, we have a few rituals we have to perform. The first is what we often call the special drink ritual. Each episode, we start off by introducing the special drink that is going to make this episode special for each of us individually. My special drink's actually a throwback. I do the keto diet, which has no sugar or carbs. And when I do the keto diet, I drink a lot of kombucha. I was at Costco this week. My favorite type of kombucha was on sale, and it's a raspberry lemonade flavor. And I love this stuff, and I haven't had one for a while. So
let's crack it open.
What do you got over there?
I think I messed up, to be honest with you.
Oh, here we go.
I was at the grocery store today, and I was like, I need a special drink for tonight. So I was scouring the grocery store, looking at all the different shelves, looking for something that was sugar-free, caffeine-free, that I haven't had on the show yet. And then I came across Fresca.
Okay.
Sugar-free, which also doesn't have caffeine. But then I remembered I had this as my special drink one night.
Okay, well, does it feel special for you? Are you looking forward to drinking it?
Not anymore, no.
Oh,
no.
Damn. Don't let the pressure of the special drink ritual get in the way of you enjoying it. We need a distraction. Before we get to this week's stories, let's catch up on some listener mail related to stories we discussed in our prior episode, which was actually the third volume of the Keep Canada Weird mailbag, which is the episode series in which we listen to listener mail that didn't make it into the main series. We got 2 pieces of mail related to the mailbag episode. Let's start with a listener named Stephanie, who had something to say about the joke I made that went over a lot of people's heads. She's not quite sure if I'm joking or if I'm an idiot. Here it is.
It could be both.
Hey guys, Stephanie from Peterborough here. I'm just listening to the mailbag episode. I can't tell if you're doing it on purpose or not, but in response to, I think your first call was about how you need to brush up on your geography. Throughout the episode, you've referred to Calgary as being in both Manitoba and BC and Alberta. And it's making me laugh. I had to pause the episode just to say, like, are you just not paying attention? Do you not know where Calgary is? Or are you doing it intentionally, just putting it randomly in somewhere in Canada? Thank you. Love the show. Bye.
I'll address that one. It was just an odd coincidence that in the same episode that we heard a voicemail from someone who gave me a hard time about my misspeak when I said Danielle Smith was the premier of BC instead of Alberta, where she's actually the premier. It's just a coincidence that I incorrectly referred to Calgary as being the capital of BC, Manitoba, and Alberta. And when I know damn well it's the capital of Maine.
Yeah.
No joke. My simple mistake.
It's a mistake. You know, you and I record these episodes fairly live off the floor. You know, we don't go back and correct things that we may have. It's very brave of you to leave those mistakes in the final edit.
It's transparency.
Yeah.
We got some feedback for you from something you said during the mailbag episode. This one is a listener named Chris who has a hard time ever since listening to that episode where she's been thinking about you air drying your body.
I'm not surprised.
This is Chris from Colorado. I was just listening to the mailbag episode and I'm really worried. I understood Aaron to say that after a shower, he likes to air dry. I'm having a very hard time getting that visual out of my head. I know he's handsome, Aaron Airport, but still, the Keep Canada Weird thing, I think it's working. Thank you so much for brightening my day. Keep Canada Weird.
We'll try, Chris. Now, Chris says she's having a hard time getting that image out of her head, but it wasn't clear if it was a negative thing. Is she trying to get it out of her head?
I don't know. I'm going to take it as a positive because she finds it so distracting because it's so good. And I can understand that image being very distracting to some listeners because they're trying to focus on their day. They're trying to love their families. They're trying to go to the grocery store to find special drinks. And they're having a hard time doing it. They're having a hard time driving, skiing, whatever else they do.
I could see it. I wonder if a lot of people listen to Keep Canada Weird by skiing. Someone out there probably is listening while skiing, and that's pretty cool. But if they do enjoy listening while skiing, then they're going to have a great day of skiing today because we got some great stories coming up. I'm going to break it up into two segments. The first segment of stories are all going to be about cameras and surveillance and maybe the end of privacy in one way or another. And then we have a segment of stories that I'm just going to consider extra weird. They don't really have anything in common other than the fact that it is a collection of really, really weird stories from the past week. To avoid breaking up the stories with an ad break, let's take a quick one now, and then we'll come back for our collection of stories related to cameras and surveillance. Aaron, do you have a camera?
Do I on my phone?
In general, security camera, phone camera, Polaroid camera.
I have several security cameras that I call cat cameras that I keep an eye on my cat when I'm not home, and a way for me to check in on him, make sure that he is behaving, make sure that he's eating his food. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you know about cameras in that case, because we have a trilogy of stories that directly involve cameras. The first one's going to take us to the great city of Toronto. This one involves cameras being used for traffic control and the maybe the dark side of that. So Toronto's mayor has all but declared war on speeding and unnecessary traffic delays. Mayor Chow has recently increased the city's spending significantly by over doubling the number of traffic enforcement agents and installing automated speed cameras in problem areas. But the speeders and traffic congestion enthusiasts seem to be fighting back. The speed cameras are being targeted by vandals with multiple devices meeting dramatic ends. Some are chopped down, some smashed, spray painted. One even ended up in a duck pond. Here's the story of Toronto's vigilante speeding war.
Well, Michelle, yes, the last one targeted is right behind me here on Avenue Road, just south of St. Clair. Now, we'll show you some video here. According to the city and what we saw here, it looks like the camera had been sawed at the base and then toppled over. Now, we also had a chance to speak to the crews, a company from Kitchener that repairs these. They tell me you're looking at about $10,000 each in cost for each camera in repairs and putting it back up. There's also a second vendor who takes care of the actual camera in the housing. So this is a very expensive repair job. They were leaving from here to go over to Parkside, where we know another camera has also been damaged. Residents have been complaining about the speed on Parkside Drive. It's led to a double fatal accident recently as well. So the city says it's not happy about what's happening here. It says it puts road users at risk, especially cyclists, pedestrians, and the elderly as well. Now, of course, people criticize these cameras saying they're a cash grab, but still the city says this is vandalism, it's mischief, it's a criminal charge over $5,000. And so they want to crack down on this, and they're hoping that this stops.
So the news clip didn't get a great explanation of what's happening, but around the city of Toronto, it's cameras within a little box on top of a pole. It almost looks like a birdhouse with a camera in it on top of a pole. And as you drive by, if you're driving too fast, it takes a picture of your license plate, and you automatically, like, you just get a speeding ticket in the mail, I guess. People don't like this, and as a result, a sort of vigilante vandalism campaign seems to be waged against these, with people just straight up cutting down the poles and just destroying the cameras. And I could see why the city's upset because, yeah, it's a lot of money to spend to fix them and put them back up, but they're also there for a reason. They're being installed not as a cash grab, but they're being installed to control the speed of cars in a financially appropriate way in problematic or trouble areas. What do you think about this?
I wouldn't say that it's not 100% a cash grab. I think money is a part of this. I also think it's a safety thing too, but I don't know. The more cameras that are up videotaping you while you're going about your day becomes a bit more police state than I'm comfortable with. I don't like the idea of cameras on telephone poles capturing your every move. It's invasive, and I like to speed until I see a police officer on the side of the road, and then I like to slow down. Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of people do it.
And then speed back up again once I'm far enough away. Wouldn't you be videotaped as you're doing it? Like, wouldn't they have some footage of you?
You would think, right?
In the area? Like,
well,
when do these things stop filming?
Well, I guess you could probably look and see which direction it's filming and approach it from behind. But also, probably. One thing about vandalism is since COVID, like one thing that's changed is it's now way easier to get away with stuff because you can, like it's not uncommon now to see someone with the medical mask on. So if you have a medical mask and your hood up, you can almost do anything in this world.
Except speed.
Yeah, that's right. I guess you can't put like a medical mask on your license plate.
Yeah, your car has a medical mask. Your face has a medical mask.
Yeah, I don't want COVID on my car.
Yeah. It's a problem.
Let's move on to another story that involves cameras. We're going to leave Toronto and traffic enforcement as a topic. Let's go to Prince Edward Island and look at something a bit more cosmic, but also a bit more historic, because there was a first in history thing that recently happened in Charlottetown. So when Joe Valladium stepped off his front step to take his dogs for a walk, he had no idea that he narrowly dodged a 1 in a billion chance of being chopped in half by cosmic debris. After returning home from his walk, he noticed scattered dust and rocks on his walkway that were out of place. And when he checked his home security cameras, he realized something incredible had happened, and it was all caught on his Ring video doorbell. Here's the story of the world's first meteorite caught on film, the Charlottetown meteorite.
A sound never recorded before. Captured clearly in daylight, the smash steps away from Joe Valladium's house. What hurtled from the sky missed hitting the homeowner by about 2 minutes.
It landed right between my legs where I was standing.
He'd left to walk his dogs. When he got back, all he saw was a mess.
We had no idea what it was, and we were cleaning it up and going to throw it away.
But a neighbor heard a crash and questioned, was this a meteorite? The homeowners wondered too when they saw their camera and sent photos to a meteorite expert at the University of Alberta, who happened to be on his way to PEI for a family vacation. Chris Hurd confirmed that yes, this was a meteorite, the first ever recorded to land on PEI, but also a first for the world.
It's the first time that we've ever had a recorded fall of a meteorite hitting the surface of the Earth with sound included.
The sound of a space rock about the size of a kiwi shattering on impact.
When I showed it to my wife, she said it sounded like ice breaking, like if you took a chunk of ice and just smashed it, right? It's remarkable because it's never really been heard before.
The researcher says the meteorite likely broke off from an asteroid between Mars and Jupiter. We often see them speed across our skies, but in Canada, only about 70 meteorites have been recovered. This homeowner is glad he moved and also in awe.
We need to be reminded that the lives that we lead are just a small part of this, celestial drama that's so much bigger than we can possibly imagine.
And so, what are the chances? A question perhaps for the universe.
That is fascinating. First in the history of the world, that one's caught on film with sound, and the first time one is even ever, found in Prince Edward Island. That's pretty amazing that that's happened.
It's cool. Yeah. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like he narrowly escaped death, which is
That's always a good
also
thing.
really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
It says he was about 2 minutes away, but in the news clip there, you do see it landed like right on the walkway from his front door, which is pretty amazing. Like, of everywhere in the world that this thing could land, it lands in the walkway of your house 2 minutes after you're there, and directly where your security camera's filming. It's like the chances of that like I said when I introduced this story, he missed like a 1 in a billion chance of being blown apart by cosmic debris. 1 in a billion may even be better odds than what you would actually have of being hit by one of these things. And it would have, I think it was coming, they said it was the size of a kiwi by the time it actually enters our atmosphere and hits the ground. It's going at about 200 kilometers an hour. I would think a rock the size of a kiwi at 200 kilometers an hour, on the top of your head, it'd probably kill you.
Yeah. But do you think the universe is out to get him and just missed?
Well, I think if the universe wanted to get him, it would have. I think the universe is out to scare the hell out of him.
Yeah, but you're insinuating that the universe is perfect, but the universe also takes its best shot and misses sometimes.
I wonder if this is if there is a God. I wonder if God was just like, I'm going to shake up this guy in PEI's day, his life.
Yeah. I'm going to remind him who has the power.
Whiff a kiwi down there.
Yeah, just a frozen kiwi.
They really enjoyed the sound. In that news, it was just over and over again.
It's not really, to me, like the sound that a meteor makes. It's the sound of a meteor hitting concrete,
hitting a
as
walkway.
opposed to this sound of a meteor hitting the earth.
I think the sounds is there any difference between the sound of that and the sound of if I just stood in my driveway and I just threw a rock down on the ground? It'd be kind of the same sound. I don't think the sound's significant. It's cool.
No, I agree.
You hear it, but it's not like, wow, it sounds so much different than earth rocks.
So that's what a meteor sounds like
when it hits my walkway's tile.
When it destroys my property.
Speaking of rocks and property, and again on the topic of cameras and surveillance, we got one more. We were in Toronto for traffic. We went to Prince Edward Island for a 1 in a billion chance of a meteorite strike being caught on camera with sound. Now let's go to Kelowna, and we're going to hear about some more rocks. These ones get stolen, and the whole thing's caught on camera. In a brazen early morning heist, 2 thieves broke into Kelowna's rock and gem store, making off with thousands of dollars worth of rare stones, including a prized Brazilian geode valued at up to $3,000. The thieves, armed with specialized tools, targeted the prominently displayed geode in a meticulously planned operation, leaving the store owners reeling. Here's the story of the rocks that got stolen in Kelowna, BC.
In just a couple minutes, 2 thieves made off with thousands of dollars in unique rocks, including a rare, high-priced geode.
They knew what they were doing. They broke in. They had special tools. They kind of knew to get a crowbar under the glass and break it in a certain way.
It was around 5:30 Friday morning when the 2 men broke into Kelowna's Rocks and Gems store. The owners believed they were targeting this rare geode from Brazil, estimated between $2,500 and $3,000.
Certainly believe that we were cased, so they might have posed as customers or they might have just drove by. We don't know for sure.
The geode sat front and center inside the store, visible to those passing by. The Better Business Bureau says while that may attract customers, it could also attract thieves, and store owners may want to consider other options for high-priced items. With that in mind, the store plans to beef up its security.
We are going to be looking into bars or a gate or roll down shutters, whatever we have to do. The anxiety of it, the violation that it is really why I don't want to do it again. We need to figure something out.
Mark Fitz of Fed Up Security Solutions says one of the best ways to deter a thief is to have visible security barriers.
Once the physical visual security has been put on, I've never ever had anything where someone even tries to vandalize or break a window. They just forget it. I'm going to go somewhere else. This is too much work.
No arrests have been made in Friday's theft. RCMP are asking anyone with dash cam footage of the 1100 block of Gordon Avenue from 5:30 a.m. to 5:45 a.m. to report it.
I think that's an interesting story. Here's what I want to run by you. Like being a bank robber, it's a bit glamorous and sexy, right?
Being a bank robber, yes, it is. Yeah,
Do you think
because I'm a bank robber, and I know, and yeah, I'm all those
very
things.
cool. Do you think like
Yeah.
being like a specialized gem and rock and mineral robber is even cooler than a bank? Like I was kind of thinking if you're fleeing a bank and you got bags of cash, it's almost like it's a little cliche and it's been done before. But this idea of like fleeing with this rare mineral geode thing that was dug up from, deep under the ground where the volcanoes were involved and all this other stuff. I was just thinking like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but at the same time, robbing a bank is more fiscally responsible than stealing a $2,500 mineral.
Yeah, it's not
from-
much money. And it's this
No,
huge
it's-
rock thing.
You got to lug it around, and then how are you going to sell it? Everyone knows it's stolen. Your costumed bodies are spread all over the news, and everyone is looking for this rock now in any pawn shop or wherever. And it's only what?
Hey, who could you sell to? Because you couldn't pawn in a rock. I have a Brazilian geode. Like the guy at the pawn shop's like, you got a PlayStation? Like, get out of here. We want tools and PlayStations.
I mean, those rocks, collectors love them, but
they'd be few and far between, even in like a city like Kelowna.
It used to be so easy to get caught if people knew that store had their geodes stolen, and next thing you know, the next day you're showing up to pawn shops trying to sell this thing. Like everyone's going to be like, "Well, you're the person that broke into the store."
Yeah, it was on the news.
It's on the news. I saw it last night. Yeah,
yeah,
and calling the police right now.
Yeah, and I guarantee anyone in the city of Kelowna who has any interest in geodes already shops at this store.
Yeah, you should have robbed a bank. Then we would have had more sympathy for you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, robbing this geode is a lot like we've covered thefts of Pokemon cards in the past. I guess it's along the same lines. I just think there's something glamorous about these rare jewels, but this isn't even that cool because it's not like it's this 1 in a billion jewel. It's a $2,500.
No, you're not Indiana Jones.
No. Yeah.
Getting the Holy Grail here.
Yeah, they didn't exactly do that.
My favorite part, though, of that story is the security company's name, Fed Up Security Solutions.
Yeah, that's just hitting the nail on the head. That's a great name for them.
It's a great name, but it's also like doesn't really imply that they're qualified. It just implies that they're fed up.
I think it implies that they know you're fed up. Like you're sick of this. Come to us. We're sick of it too. Let's squash
Yeah, we're
these
fed
folks.
up. I'm not trained in security solutions at all, but boy, am I mad.
I like a fun name like that. I bet it seems like there's a lot of businesses that do that, and I always enjoy it. Was it in Cape Breton? There was a hair salon called Curl Up and Dye.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think there was. I laugh at that. If
Yeah.
anyone out there has a humorously tongue-in-cheek named business in your hometown, I'd like to hear about it because a lot of businesses do that.
Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah, they are out there. So that was a good trilogy of camera-related stories, right? That was a good theme for me to put together. They all did.
Yeah, it was
involve
nice. Yeah,
cameras.
the effort was appreciated.
Interesting. These guys, do you think they're going to get busted with this geode, or are they fleeing the country with a $2,500 rock?
Oh yeah, I know they're in Brazil right now.
Yeah, burying it back where it was.
Yeah, sorry.
We have an interesting segment I want to get into here. Maybe we should just jump right in and do it now. We did cameras. That's done. Are you willing to open up the doors for an apology segment on this show?
I'm willing to listen.
Okay. I'll make it easy for you because I'll go first. And I say that because I know you don't love apologizing, right? It doesn't come naturally to you.
It kills me.
Kind of a sour guy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Both you and I received listener mail that is demanding an apology. Yours is a bit worse. I'll go first.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, of course.
We want to keep the show positive, and we've been doing great. And I think taking this on and taking negative feedback and considering it and maybe learning from it and maybe giving an apology, that should be a part of our mission statement going forward. So I'll start it here. I got a voicemail from a listener named Janet who was pretty offended by some things I said in last week's episode, specifically some things I said about dogs. And I know you noticed it too, because you called me out on it. But you didn't call me out on it the way Janet did. Here it comes.
Okay.
I'm so disappointed in your last episode. Well, it was actually really great until I heard about dogs being stupid. What are you talking about? Have you ever heard of a seeing eye cat? Have you ever heard of a police cat? Have you ever heard of bomb sniffing cats? Dude, you're way out of line. Dogs are brilliant. They're smart. They're lovable. They're pretty much perfect, and I think you owe them a really big apology. I really want to continue listening to your show, but I don't know if I can without an apology to the dogs of the world. Maybe on your next show? Take care, and I still love you, but I'll love you more with an apology. So I remain for faithful and loyal listener, like a dog is. Good night.
Was good. Janet makes a great case. I have never heard of a police cat or a bomb sniffing cat or a seeing eye cat. I think, as intelligent as cats are, the one thing they're not is like helpful. Dogs are like, they're so willing to help and they want to please their owner.
Well, dogs are very trainable. Whereas cats are a different animal altogether, where you can train them to do things, but usually sniffing out something that doesn't benefit them is not how they want to spend their time.
I just find dogs kind of like some children, like young children, they really just want to like impress you and get your attention and get like, a pat on the back or a pat on the head. Like dogs seem to like really go for that. They want to make the owner happy. But I don't think I've ever seen a cat do that. You're a cat owner. Did you ever get the feeling that Ken Tiggs did something to make you proud of him?
He makes me proud every day.
Intentionally, though?
I don't know, but you know what cats can sniff out?
Treats?
Cancer.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually true.
Well, I think dogs can too. There's dogs that can like sniff out tumors and stuff, right?
Yeah. Cats can do that as well. So they're capable of sniffing out important things. It's just, again, if they have the time.
Okay. I want to put out an apology to all the dogs, dog owners, and dog lovers out there. Not just because Janet told me to, but because when I was talking last week, I don't think I really meant it. I know how smart dogs are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a bit of a dog guy. I don't have one, but I really want to get a dog. And I probably will have a dog within the next year. That's kind of like a 2025 goal of mine, to find a dog somewhere.
They're a lot of responsibility, though, Jordan. They have to be walked every day and fed every day. They're not like your kids, who can just fend for themselves.
That's true. Well, I'll report back on that. Let's move on to yours. I think my demand for an apology was a bit lighter than yours. This one I think is serious. This was not a voicemail, but this was a letter I got from a listener named Barbara. It's in response to our January 3rd episode. That was the episode when we did a roundup and recap of a lot of Christmas related stories. And one thing she had a problem with specifically was one of the stories we talked about was a large Christmas display that was vandalized. And in the episode, you directed some suspicion on who may be responsible. Who would do that? Who would put them up to this? Who would have anything to gain by taking out this guy's display?
I think the organizer and the brains behind this operation is his daughter.
What?
Yeah, I think it's his daughter because, as she says, it's all I've known, is what she says. So the email is from Barbara.
Jordan and Aaron, I found your comments accusing the 15-year-old girl being involved in the crime in Canmore very upsetting. I know you meant it to be funny, but I don't think you took into account how that may make the teenage girl feel, or that your jokes might be repeated by her peers at school. In my mind, it all verged on bullying. You might feel that I or the teenager can't take a joke, but that's one of the hallmarks of being a bully. I hope you can take my comments constructively and maybe reach out and apologize to the teenager. So I'm just going to sit that there and you tell me what you want to do.
What do I want to do? Well, I want the authorities to tell me that the teenager was not involved. That's first things first, because until evidence is presented to me that the teenager wasn't involved, then the teenager is a suspect in this entire crime. Okay. And I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel. You know, the teenager, do they listen to this podcast? Probably not.
No, they probably do. And I think most kids in the school do.
Yeah. All of her friends do. Of
We're
course
huge in Canmore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all correspondents. Yeah, it's not bullying if I know she can't hear me. Taking the comments constructively implies that if I don't accept your point of view, then I'm ignorant, which is not true. This is opinions that I have about a story. And Jordan, you shared those opinions with me because I convinced you that they were true.
You convinced me, but I'm very, very gullible.
That's okay.
Here, what about this though? She suggests, Barbara suggests that you contact this the daughter.
You know what? I will say this on the show tonight, that if the teenager did hear my comments about her involvement in the crime, I'd be happy to reach out to her on the show if she'd be willing to take a call from me. Okay. And I'd be happy to accuse her to her face.
Yeah. I thought if she had have been older, I would have tried to look up her number and allowed you to call her on air and see if she has any idea what you're even talking about. Like we do this podcast and we were talking.
Yeah, I said some things behind your back and someone got mad at me.
It would be great.
I refuse to apologize, but I am willing to talk to you live on the air.
Yeah, she's underage. We're not going to do it.
No.
So is Barbara getting an apology? Is this girl getting an apology? Or do you think you did the right thing? And
I think the authorities are the ones to dictate who gets apologized to.
Okay.
And that's where I stand. That's the line I've drawn on this issue. And when I hear from the police and they say there's no evidence, then I will make a public apology that I was wrong. And it wasn't an attempt to bully. It's just an attempt to get to the bottom of this case. Yeah.
And also, you know, people may say, Aaron, it's not guilty until proven innocent, but you didn't say she's guilty. You say you suspect her. There's a big difference between saying she did it and I think she may have done it.
Yeah. All right. We are going to have T-shirts for sale on the Nighttime Podcast that's saying she did it.
It's like a photo of her with the bars over her.
Yeah, guilty.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we got 2 extra weird stories, and yes, I'm saving the best for last. You will get a tire story tonight, Aaron. Let's have a quick break, and then we're going to hear about someone who feeds birds with their face.
Gross.
A bird-watching enthusiast from British Columbia has taken the internet by storm with her creative way of connecting with nature. Michelle Lefrabe built a bird feeder that she wears on her face. A self-proclaimed bird nerd, Michelle recently went viral on TikTok after sharing a clip of her wearing her homemade face feeder, which involves wearing a paper plate filled with birdseed attached to a pair of sunglasses. The contraption allows birds to perch inches from her face, seemingly oblivious to her presence. This is the story of the bird feeding final boss.
It's an unusual setup. a plate sprinkled with bird feed attached to a pair of sunglasses.
I get pure enjoyment. I absolutely love it.
Under that disguise is Michelle Lefebvre, a self-described bird nerd.
I like to go out and do this to help with my mental health, to reset.
She came up with the idea for the face bird feeder from another online creator.
I never thought in a million years that it would go viral, and now I'm sitting at 21 million views.
She says reaction has been mixed.
So it's been more of a positive reaction than the whole concern of the bird flu.
In November, BC saw Canada's first critical avian flu patient. The influenza has been circulating in the wild bird population for the last 4 years.
This is the largest global epizootic, which is essentially an epidemic in animals that we've ever seen.
Dr. Erin Fraser says while she's all for bird watching, it's important to do so safely.
Taking precautions like, observing them from a distance, not handling them directly, certainly not hand feeding them.
Lefebvre says she's taking precautions.
The plate and the glasses are sanitized and the plate is just thrown away and I use a new one.
The BC SPCA says there's risk of disease transmission whether you have a bird feeder on your face or in your backyard.
We also have diseases like salmonella and conjunctivitis that can be spread through bird feeders. So really important that if you're not really willing to kind of take it down weekly, do a thorough clean, put it back up, it might be easier to just have a bush that kind of provides natural food sources for birds.
Lefebvre says she plans on making more videos and is toying with her next idea.
Kevin! The Home Alone lady.
I absolutely adore that lady and that story. I love every bit of it. It's completely absurd. It's very Canadian. It's certainly weird. I put her on the same level as Bill Steele from Dorchester, as someone who's just doing something again absurd.
Yeah, it has that to it. I don't support it at all. But
you don't? I do support this. And for people who haven't seen the image, it seems like what she does is just sits down somewhere. She puts like a blanket over herself to hide her body. She puts on the sunglasses that have a paper plate kind of attached to it full of birdseed, and then puts a hat on. So it's just like her eyes. She's like the birds land like immediately in front of her eyes.
It's just now's not the time. It's just
why
not the time.
Why not? Because of COVID and all
Because
that
of the
stuff?
bird flu.
Yeah.
Have you not been reading about this? It's like
no, I literally haven't.
Yeah, no, there was a very serious case of a human in Canada who had gotten bird flu and was in the ICU for God knows how long.
Oh, geez, I missed that.
Well, there hasn't been any human to human transmission yet, but there are humans that have been getting it from like cows and birds and different animals. Like there was a guy that got it because he had some dead birds on his property and he was like getting rid of them and he got bird flu.
That's gross. Well, yeah, maybe it isn't the time to have birds landing on your face.
No, it's 100% no.
She said it was a way to deal with her mental health. I thought, like, is it treatment or a symptom? Because it is a little crazy.
It's definitely both, probably. I don't know. That's hard to say, but they said the better thing to do is to, because she said that she wipes it down after she uses it every time, but that's not going to keep you from getting bird flu. Just having that much close contact with the birds is how you will get bird flu.
And it doesn't get much closer. Like they're literally landing on her face.
Oh yeah, they might as well be crawling up into her eyes and using the bathroom. Like it's just.
I do love little songbirds though. Like a chickadee.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of chickadees. Yeah, of course.
Well, you've probably heard chickadees. They're a very common songbird, like chickadee dee dee dee. I used to have a bird feeder that worked with a suction cup, so it like connected to my window in my kitchen where I was always like cooking and doing dishes and stuff. And it was like all day I had chickadees and just sitting there eating and chickadeeing at each other. It just warmed my heart.
It's nice. Again, 5-10 years ago, I would have fully supported this. I just don't support it right now. But one interesting thing that one of the experts said in that news story was about people's backyard bird feeders. And they're like, you really should be taking them down and and sanitizing them once a week and then putting them back up. I guarantee nobody's doing that.
No, no one does that.
Nobody. They just refill it with seed and then they just continue on. And all the rodents in their area are eating the seed off of the ground, and
that's the problem with them. It's I had a bird, I mentioned the bird feeder on my window. I ended up having to move it because the chickadees and the different birds were dropping, like knocking the seeds on the ground. Yeah, they drop
seed down the ground.
Then I started having like rats in my yard. I was like, oh God. So I moved the bird feeder, and the rats didn't come back.
Yeah, it's a big feeder of rodents, and you can get bird feeders that don't drop seed on the ground, but anyway, like the woman said, like, put a bush up and
that's no fun though. Like, if you love birds and you want to be close to them and interact with them,
but we don't have to be close to everything. We don't have to be physically close to everything. There are some things that we shouldn't tamper with. Let nature be. Let the animals do what they do, Stop trying to interfere in everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. But everybody.
You've been through this before. You referred to people as who let their cats go outside as playing God.
I never said that.
I'm pretty sure you did, and I think we had a bunch of
man, you're putting
emails.
Words in my mouth.
Okay.
Playing God. How does that?
It was
we were talking
the
about
cats
the people.
With the colorful
with the colorful collars.
Yes.
And so I didn't suggest that people who let their cat outside were playing God. It was the people who are putting those crazy colorful collars on them and then sending them outside so that the birds stay away from them.
Okay. All right.
I
just get cautious when you start giving opinions on animals, because we talk about animals a lot, and the two of us, like, you couldn't have more pedestrian backgrounds when it comes to like animals and nature and stuff than you and I. So I get a lot of emails where it's like, you or Aaron said that cats are this and that, and you should read this article. And
everybody's educated in YouTube University, so they have no problem saying, well, actually, something that I read conflicts with what you said, and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, just calm down, everybody.
Yes, good point. Let's move on to something that we both are very knowledgeable on, and that is extremely weird stories told in extremely weird ways about Tim Hortons. This one, this is interesting. So I've gotten several emails from listeners letting us know about an odd situation playing in New Brunswick that involves a Tim Hortons location that has mysteriously been closed down, and a lot of people are asking questions. The mystery initially, when I first got these emails and started, looking into the story, I thought it was like, something between a conspiracy and a cover-up. It turns out to have a pretty reasonable, logical explanation for what's going on, but that didn't stop CBC from doing like an investigative report on this closed Tim Hortons that comes across as almost a similar tone as what you'd expect from like a Netflix true crime series. I'm going to play you a little bit of a news clip about this Tim Hortons coffee shop that has been closed down for the last, I think, week or so, that CBC is taking very seriously. Then we'll talk about this. Here it comes.
Since mid-December, this has been the scene at the Tim Hortons on Beardsley Road in Woodstock, just off the Trans-Canada Highway. The restaurant and the Irving gas station and diner next door closed suddenly with no explanation.
I was on my way to Tim's to get a coffee one morning, and there was trucks around. It wasn't blocked off, but it was closed, and I drove around, and there was environmental trucks, suction trucks and that sort of thing.
The gas station and cafe have since reopened using a temporary water supply, but those pump trucks have surrounded the Tim Hortons ever since. Locals say they've been running non-stop, pumping out water from freshly dug ditches. None of the neighbors that CBC spoke with have been able to find out what happened, but rumors and speculation about an oil spill have people worried.
Well, everybody I know, they discuss it.
CBC News spoke to numerous residents with concerns. Some worry they may have consumed products contaminated with fuel. Vern Beers lives about 700 meters away. He worries about his drinking water.
I want to know if it gets to me or us. Let's say us, because we're all neighbors. If it gets here, what's the plan for us?
I'm going to stop the clip there because in the end, despite the drama of all of that and the intrigue they managed to build up, it goes nowhere. They quickly, like with a couple calls and emails, they learned that there was a propane leak at the gas station that Tim Hortons is connected to. So they had to close it for a little while they dealt with a cleanup and did some remediation and testing of the groundwater. So in the end, there's nothing to it. But I have never heard something like this, a business closing, covered so seriously with that music and the vague statements. Like, people are talking about it. Everyone I know is talking about it. Like, it was one step away from having people's faces covered and their voices disguised. Like, it had that vibe to it.
If people can search this news story, on YouTube or wherever and watch it, the cinematography is fantastic in it.
Oh yeah, they had drones flying.
Do you see the drone shots, and also when they're interviewing the man in his house, they have a shot of a camera inside the fridge. So when he opens his fridge, the camera is in there.
Yeah, and
Did you notice that?
A glass of water. Yeah,
yeah. And he reaches in and he's getting his water and he's smelling his water, and it's like that camera's inside the fridge.
Yeah, it's very well produced. Drone footage, the creepy music, the voiceover. Like, it seems like it's this intrigue, again, like conspiracy cover-up vibes. Like, Dana Scully and Fox Mulder from the X-Files were like a minute away from being called and being shipped down there to solve it, when they're like, oh, it's just the obvious. There was a gas leak and they're just, dealing with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always hard to trust what Tim Hortons says, even if it's just a franchisee. And so I think the ultimate tale of this story is that you can't trust Tim Hortons no matter what they say, and their gas is coming for you.
I think the ultimate tale of this story is that you and I sat through like an hour-long musical called The Last Timbit that was put together by Tim Hortons that paled in comparison to that 1 minute in terms of like entertainment. Like, when I watched that news clip, my eyes were glued to the screen. Like, what is happening? What's going to happen next? Oh, it's a gas leak. Boring.
But this explains the behavior of the characters in The Last Timbit, because now we know they were all huffing gas and why they were acting so weird.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, let's move on. We're getting to the tail end of this. We're going to end with the cherry on top for you. Every week since we've began hearing tire stories, you've been just waiting and waiting. You've been emailing me all day. Do you got one tonight? Will you have two tonight? How many will you have tonight? Can we start with one tonight? No, we saved it for last. Aaron, we have a tire story for you. I'm not going to set it up much, except to say that this is another life and death tire story coming to us from a correspondent named Krista. You got your seatbelt on?
Yeah, my tires are ready.
Do you got your Fresca in your hand?
It's empty, actually.
Damn it. I would just squeeze that can. White knuckle it. This is life and death tire stuff. Here it comes.
Hey, Jordan and handsome Aaron Airport. This is Krista. I am calling you from Tucson, Arizona. And I've been a longtime fan, lurking down here in the Southwest on the opposite end of the earth from you guys. And I was really happy the other day when I heard that you were going to extend tire stories into 2025, because I do have a tire story for you. Actually, it's my husband's, but he is really unlikely to call you. And it's not only a tire story, it is a life and death tire story. So my husband needed new tires, and he went to a tire store. They put new tires on his car. And when he was driving home, and he was on the freeway going like 50 or 60 miles per hour, or how many ever kilometers that is. And all of a sudden, his front right wheel puffed off the car and went racing off the road and crashed right through this plate glass window of a veterinary office. And he managed to steer the car, to safety and everything. And no animals were killed, no humans were killed. But I'm pretty sure he wanted to kill that guy that didn't tighten the lug nuts on the tire. Anyway, so there you go. Another life and death tire story to add to your collection.
Wow.
You were right. These stories are out there. When you get your tires swapped or put on, they always say, like, come back after a certain amount of traveling and we're going to, like, tighten your tires up. I wonder if that's why. Like, can the things just pop off? The tires are heavy. One of those rolling down a street, that'd be pretty frightening.
Especially going into an animal hospital. I find that even more disturbing. But I think what we need to do right now is make one final call out to the listeners of Keep Canada Weird.
Not only their listeners, in this, you may have noticed in that tire story, Krista said, this is not my story. This is my husband's story. And he would never call in. I bet you there's a bunch of listeners who have someone living in their house that's a non-Keep Canada Weird listener that may have a tire story. So continue your call out, but let's expand it from listeners to listeners and people in their inner circles.
Absolutely. So we are planning what was only joked about before, but is now becoming reality, an Entirely Tires episode, because we've gotten a number of voicemails, some heard on this show, some not, that have warranted an entire episode of Entirely Tires. So what we want people to do is, if you want to get on this one-time only episode of Entirely Tires with your tire story, now is the time to call in. So this episode comes out on Friday. We're going to be recording Entirely Tires on Sunday. So you have about 2 days to get your tire stories in at nighttimepodcast.com/contact and tell us your tire story, and it will more than likely air on Entirely Tires.
Yeah. And there's nothing to stop you from holding your phone up to your husband or wife or child or father or mother and saying, "Hun, do you have a tire story? Tell me the best story you have about tires." Because they're out there. We just need to knock on some doors, shake some trees, and see which other tire stories fall down. And yeah, I'm excited for episode 1 of Entirely Tires. You say it's a one-time thing. I hope it's a one-time thing. I wouldn't have let this go on this long, but the listeners are coming through, and I know it makes you happy. Your eyes light up when someone says, "I got another tire story for you."
Yeah, because I told you they were out there, and I told you that they were important, and they are important because the listeners are demanding this venue for them to tell their tire stories in. And now they're going to have a whole episode dedicated entirely to tires.
Go to nighttimepodcast.com/contact and get your tire stories in now. But we're out of time tonight, Aaron. We're going to put a bow on this. Anything you want to say before I do?
Oh, I can't wait to talk about tires again Sunday.
Okay. Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan, until next time.
If a Tim Hortons in your area closes unexpectedly, don't assume it's just, lack of staff. Put on some investigative, detective, noir style music. Poke around, look in windows, ask questions. Who knows what you'll uncover.
Yeah. And Jordan, Bus Stop Bonaparte, until next time, if you ever see a camera in your fridge while you're smelling your water, it's probably the city of Toronto.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. If you've got a news story from your area that you'd like to share with us, or have any thoughts or theories or opinions on anything we discussed tonight, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us by using the voice recorder that can be found at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. And on that topic, I want to give a big thank you to this episode's correspondents. If your voice message was aired tonight, you can email me your address. My email is nighttimepodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get a Keep Canada Weird badge and swag pack sent out to you. I just ask that you wear the badge proudly and responsibly. Next, a big thanks goes out to Aaron for another great night, you, Nicole, for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data for the outro version of O Canada. And then, of course, a sincere and massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening. Your support makes this show possible. And if you'd like to support the show even more, please consider a subscription to the premium feed, which can be found at nighttimepodcast.com/subscribe. The premium feed costs just a couple dollars a month, but that money will fund the creation of new episodes of the show, and it'll give you those episodes 2 days early, ad-free, and access to a back catalog of episodes. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by sharing this episode on social media. That helps a lot too, and it's free. Your support is very much appreciated. So with all that said, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and together, let's keep Canada weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.